Welcome to Pack the Rock podcast. Thank you all for joining us this week. I'm your host, William Stewart. Next to me, the Rook, Ian Plaskoff, and across from us, Ava Wegenke and Nick Rodecap. We had an interesting week last week. It wasn't particularly fun for Maryland, but Indiana had a pretty good weekend.
You could say that.
I think that's safe to say. How was calling the game before we actually get to the results?
Very good. An interesting stadium layout at CQ Stadium, that was for sure. The radio booth was lovely. We had our own booth. We had a TV in there to watch replay. We had a window that would open for our crowd mic, and it was low to the field, so numbers were not an issue. Fun game to call, I'll say that for sure. And watching the homecoming game for Maryland turn into the other meeting of homecoming where everybody went home before the game ended, that was an interesting thing to watch, and there was just all crimson left by the end, and it was cool.
That was a bar.
They said you guys.
I said that on the broadcast. Yeah,
no, it was good. I have nothing of value to add. I think it was weird being inside actually because I've only ever called football games outside before
On a roof.
Yeah. The Maryland AD said that it was a sellout before the game. That was a total lie. At no point were the stands ever full. Clever move by him telling everybody to wear red. That way the IU fans would not stand out. But you could hear them anytime IU made a big play. And I think that the overall impression I had of CQ Stadium is that it's kind of a Frankenstein stadium where they had the horseshoe and then they added the upper deck, but only on one side, and then they added the press box. It's a really interesting place, and I don't know if it's interesting in a good way.
Nick, if you had to guess how many IU fans were left at the fourth quarter when everybody else went home, I was thinking like 10,000.
Close to 10,000. I think that was what Zach Osterman said too. But yeah, there was a healthy helping of IU fans there, and I'm not surprised because there are a lot of IU grads who work near DC, and the flight was really easy. It was only 2 hours, and it wasn't that expensive. So not surprised that the IU fans traveled so well, and I think any recruits that Maryland had, and they had a lot of them there, might be reconsidering whether or not they want to be a Terrapin after that.
I think my takeaways outside of the game were, one, trains are awesome. I have not been on many trains in my life. In D.C., the public transit system.
The Metro. Yeah.
It was great. Made it really easy to navigate.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. D.C. was great. Walked the National Mall. It's like nobody thinks about Maryland as a fun Big Ten trip, but I had a great time. Like D.C. is fun. It's clean. Although we were walking down the streets of D.C., we were like, oh, this is great. The streets are clean. It's quiet. And then as soon as we say that, somebody behind us just like on the ground.
Somebody coughed up a lung. Yeah, the timing could not have been worse. But
that's disgusting.
But I don't know that detail.
The DC,
other than that, it was great. There were no other. It was clean.
The DC streets were very quiet when we were there, but it was also really windy. They had like 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Did you guys go sailing?
No, we didn't.
No. We did not sail on the Chesapeake.
No, but no, it's an overshadowed Big Ten trip, but it's a good one. College Park is very easy to get to from DC. So
shout out.
Yeah, the game. Well, you guys talked about going to Maryland. Ava and I had the fan experience this weekend.
We did have the fan experience.
Staying in Bloomington and watching the game, which I think that's the first time you've done that all season.
That's the first time I've done that in like
2
years since I started covering the team. So that was it felt weird. I didn't like it. It was a fun idea in the moment, and then the game got going, and then I was like, I don't want to do this again.
There you go.
It was all right.
Apparently,
I like covering the team. I like being there in the action. So I'm glad to get back to it.
Controversial take there. Hot take even.
Hot take?
It's sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
The aforementioned Maryland game, Indiana won 55-10, which, if you recall last week, that means there's 2-pointers around this room.
3-pointers.
Who?
3-pointers.
If you get one score right and then the winner right, it's 3.
Oh, you're right. I forgot my own rules. Or I guess it's your rules. Anyways, Indiana won 55-10 over Maryland on Saturday. Mendoza, not the biggest Heisman performance of all time. It was 14-21, 200 yards, touchdown and a pick. He also had 20 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. He is second in the odds for the Heisman. He is also second in the odds for the first overall pick, but he is second in the country in passing touchdowns with 25 and second in the country in passer rating at a $185.5, which not too bad. Omar Cooper Jr. stepped up in the absence of Elijah Surratt, had 7 for 86 and a touchdown. He's 7th in the nation with 8 receiving touchdowns. And back to Elijah Surratt, he played all of 9 snaps, did not catch a pass, which ends his 46-game reception streak at the Division I level, which was the longest active streak. It now moves to a tight end, I think, from Bowling Green or something with 41. He will be back this week. I don't think Sig said he was doubtful or anything. They just pulled him for precautionary reasons. The rushing game is what won Indiana this game. 50 carries, just about 370 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Kalon Black with 14 carries for a $110 and a touchdown. Hemby, the Roman Empire, rises again. 18 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. And then the defense, honestly pretty quiet in the stat sheet, but obviously held Maryland to only 10 points. 0 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Held Maryland to 37 rushing yards, and I say quiet in the stat sheet. They had 2 picks and forced, I think it was 5 total turnovers.
That is correct.
Yeah, not bad. Lewis Moore and Caden Turner each got a pick. Devin Boykin with a fumble 6, plus the 2 extra recoveries. The defense is 3rd in the nation in points per game allowed at just under 11, 7th in yards per game allowed at 248, and 8th in the nation with 29 sacks, even after putting up 0 against Maryland. What were the takeaways from the Maryland game? Obviously, it was, it was pretty much a beating. There's no other way around that.
Malik Washington is a freshman.
Yeah.
He did not look comfortable at all. Indiana completely stuffed Maryland's run game. I think Maryland finished with under 40 yards, and most of those rushing
37.
yards, most of those came in garbage time. I think they had like 10 in the first 3 quarters, and the game was over after the third quarter. Indiana's got depth on defense, and with the injury bug being a little bit more of a problem this year, that depth is really important. Caden Turner, that was his first career interception. Isaiah Jones got his first career start, but because he's got so much experience, he didn't miss a beat. Shout out Jeff Utzinger for stuffing a line on his first defensive snap of the game. I thought that was cool. And Indiana doesn't need Fernando Mendoza to play like the best quarterback in the country every week to beat opponents convincingly, which I think is really important moving forward, postseason play, especially the Big Ten championship game. Indiana showed that they can beat people in different ways, whether it's holding teams to field goals after turning the ball over or just averaging, 7 yards per carry as a team.
Probably something like that.
Absurd. Absurd rushing efficiency, and it goes
a little over that, 7-2 maybe.
Jeez, it's a testament to the depth of the offensive line and also the explosiveness of the running backs, because it feels like Kalon Black is always ripping 6, 8, 15-yard carries, like every time he gets a touch. Kobe Martin too has been really impressive as kind of that third string running back, but that doesn't really do him justice because he's better than a third string running back, and I think it's impressive that Indiana can have all these injuries to key guys, Kellen Wyatt, Lee Beebe, and now you tack on Fisher, Surratt, Drew Evans, and they just don't skip a beat. And I think that's a testament to the coaching staff, the standards that they set, the buy-in that the players have, and also just their constant standard to be the best, regardless of who's on the field. And I think that's a really impressive thing to watch.
I think the biggest takeaway from this game was something that Fernando Mendoza said post-game, and I'm not sure if this was like a trash talk type thing or I don't know what it was. It was Fernando Mendoza being Fernando Mendoza, let's just say. He said, Maryland's plan was to take away our pass game, and, well, if you want to do that, we'll run 370 yards down your throat. And, well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And the offensive line was great. Running backs were great, as Nick said. I think the emergence of Charlie Becker as another receiver, with Surratt out, he stepped in, and Becker made a big play, 52 yards, run after the catch. And he's always been there when it's been necessary. Defensively, this is a fun story. Caden Turner's pick, I had the call of that on WIUX, and Caden Turner is one of the guys that I vividly remember in the recruiting cycle when he was in high school and when I was in, what would that have been? Probably high school as well, freshman year of high school.
Probably.
Yeah. Caden Turner was a Tom Allen recruit, committed in 2021 in the class of 2022 as a 3-star over Kansas State and Arkansas. And I've always been like, oh, yeah, Caden Turner's the guy that I followed for all this time. And then I get to call his first career pick. So that was cool. Full circle moment. And then also Lewis Moore's pick. I mean, ball skills, unbelievable.
Yoink.
That's the best way to put it.
That was pretty much what he did.
It was 2 inches away from being a touchdown the other way.
He did pluck that thing out of the air.
And Devin Boykin the past 2 weeks has been unbelievable in moving all around in the secondary and forcing turnovers, and adds another element to this defense.
Yeah, Plaskoff, you talk about Lewis Moore. He's also number one in the country in a statistic. It'd be interceptions. He's tied at 5 with about 5 other players there. One of them an SEC safety or a USC safety.
Ooh, that name from Marshall is unbelievable.
Boogie Trotter.
Boogie Trotter.
Boogie Trotter.
That's elite.
5 picks down there at Marshall. I assume he's a corner because he's not listed as a safety.
The Thundering Herd.
Elijah Green from Tulsa.
Not the Elijah Green.
I was going to say
from last season.
He was an Indiana running back. That can't be the same person.
I would assume not. I'd actually be pretty impressed if it was.
There's also an Elijah Green who's in the Washington Nationals organization.
A lot of Elijah Greens.
Man, yeah.
They're running the sports world.
Oh,
anyways.
the Elijah Green that I'm thinking of is now a 6th-year senior at Sam Houston State.
Oh, sure.
Shout out Bearcats with a K.
0-8.
I was going to say Lamar Wilkerson University.
This is going to be a good game. 0-8 Sam Houston versus 2-7 Oregon State. Saturday night on the CW.
That is sicko material.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can
College football for you.
The if College Game Day goes to the Battle of the Ravine next week, I just feel like we need to talk about this.
FCS.
This is
Arkadelphia.
Division II in Arkadelphia. The stadiums are about
literally across the street.
5 minutes apart. It's
Yeah.
Henderson State University and Ouachita Baptist University in Arkansas. Notably, the Rockford Rivets have players from both of those schools, so I'm familiar with both of them from my internship this past summer. W.T. Jones from Henderson State, Reese Torini, Ouachita Baptist.
W.T. Jones sounds like a 17th century inventor.
Yeah.
Who
W.T. Jones
left his family in
Where are you going with
England to, I don't know, to go to the United States and sell people on his idea of some novel form of electricity or something.
He was a pretty good third baseman, I will say.
W.T. Jones.
But yeah, I really hope, just as we're talking about the wider landscape of college football and weird, quirky things, I hope Game Day goes there next week instead of, I think, Alabama LSU.
I think that is the plan.
Reese Davis was pitching them on it.
Yeah, Herbie was also on Twitter about it.
So I think where there's smoke, there might be fire.
I saw a video on Twitter. Ouachita Baptist was either away or on bye, and Henderson State was playing. And the people at Ouachita Baptist, there was a pick 6 in the Henderson State game, and they just heard the crowd from across the street as it happened.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
It's apparently it's 0.8 mile differential between the stadiums.
That's like my walk from home to here.
That is so cool.
Between the two stadiums of the schools?
0.8 miles.
Wait, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's sick.
They
0.8.
should go. Why not? Make it fun. Make college football fun.
No, they should have
That
gone
is
to
the whole
North
point.
Dakota State and South Dakota State. By the way, shout out Indiana State.
I was going to say where you
Roll
going?
trees.
Yeah, roll trees. That makes does that make IU's resume look better? I don't know. It doesn't, but it's good for the narrative.
We'll get into that later.
Does resume really matter when you're 9-0?
No.
You're
Yes.
solely atop the Big Ten.
For seeding
Yes.
purposes.
Last year it did. This year it shouldn't.
I
Because it's clear
disagree.
that Indiana's much better this year than in 2024.
Let's get into it.
I disagree. I think it totally matters.
You think Ohio State has a better resume than Indiana?
Because, well, that's not what I said. I'm just saying that I think it matters because this team is continuously having to prove themselves. People are always going to find something to pin against this team. So you would want a good-looking resume. It's one less thing for them to pin against you.
But is it as much of a talking point as people are making it out to be? Does Iowa's record really matter as much as people does?
I have an opinion about this.
That's
but
where I'm going.
going to save it for I want to save it for when you talk about the polls.
The committee.
Well, that's the next thing, so
Okay,
you might
well,
as
then
well
I'll
just
just
get us
start.
into it.
So actually, Ian and I had a very long conversation about this before everybody came today. I think that, okay, so the Oregon-Iowa game this weekend, do you want Oregon to win or do you want Iowa to win? It is a win-win, lose-lose situation. The final verdict, at least for me, was that Iowa is tagged as this team that, at least from a media standpoint, that is known to upset ranked teams, top teams. Like, that is just...
Because they do.
That is just what they're... Yes, that is what they do.
They haven't, 15 years.
But that's their tag. But yeah, okay, so they haven't in 15 years, but it's still their tag. It's still relevant. Oregon, you want Oregon. Oregon is this team that is just, hugged by the media. They like Oregon. And so I say if you're Indiana, you want a close game this weekend, but you want Oregon to win and eventually Oregon to win out so that the media cannot say, well, Indiana just beat Oregon on an off okay year. And I think that ties into that resume thing, and that you want a good standing resume.
Here's where I stand on that. Obviously, the bracket's going to change from what was released last night, but some people think about the resumes and all that to be number one, which is cool. You get to say you're the number one team in the country. You get to go play at the Rose Bowl, whatever. Other people think about the best draw, because if you're 1 through 4 and you don't care about being number one, sometimes it's about where you're put on the bracket. And right now, Indiana is put at the 2 spot, where they would play the winner of Notre Dame and BYU, notably with a freshman quarterback and a redshirt freshman quarterback. And then after that, they would play the winner of A&M and the winner of Virginia Ole Miss. If Indiana was number one in this first bracket release, it would have to play the winner of Oregon or Texas Tech and then go play the winner of Georgia likely and Bama.
Ooh.
So honestly, if you're the 2, or even the 3 or the 4, no, probably not the 4. If you're the 2 or the 3, it's not terrible if you don't care about being listed with a 1 in front of your name.
Yeah.
But this bracket's going to change, but that's just what it is right now.
Just look at what happened last year with Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State played Oregon to 1 point in Autzen, and then they got a rematch, and it was clear that even though Ohio State didn't get a bye, they were still probably the best team in the playoff besides Oregon or Notre Dame. They blew them out in the Rose Bowl. So I think Plaskoff, I think you're right. But I would say that regardless, if Oregon wins against Iowa, then the media narrative is going to be, see, Oregon is good. Here's their signature win. If Iowa wins, it's going to be, wow, the Hawkeyes are a tougher team than we thought, and Indiana came out of there with a win, so that says a lot about them. I think either way, IU's fine.
That's what that's how I look at it.
I'm not saying that's what the narrative should be, but that's what it's going to be based on what we've seen the agendas that we've seen people try to set so far.
Well, I don't even think it's a bad thing if that's what it turns out to be, because regardless, they both look like a good team at the end of the day. You know Oregon's good. There's not a debate about that. They have a Heisman candidate quarterback, Granny Psychonomist. He's not going to win it, but he's a candidate.
He was a Heisman candidate. I think he kind of played himself out of that, I think.
Still. Oregon's a good team. They're in the playoff prediction, at least.
Yeah, the committee clearly thinks that Oregon is good.
And no one's is calling Iowa bad by any stretch of the imagination. They're knocking teams off. It's just they've had to go through the buzzsaw of Indiana. I don't know what their other loss is. Was it Iowa State?
Yeah, the Cyhawk game.
And that was the first game of the season. So you got to knock the rust off with a brand new quarterback and a brand new system, and then you lose to the number 2 team in the country.
I will say, I think Mark Gronowski may have figured something out.
See, he's learning the system.
I think
so. The Iowa State loss isn't even that terrible.
The committee very clearly favors teams that are on the rise versus on the decline. Notre Dame's at 10,
which
after
is
losing the first two games of the season they lost. Miami is all the way down at
they're also the 3 and the 8 seed, aren't they?
Miami's down at 18. They put Texas at 10 after a win at Vanderbilt this weekend. And then Alabama is all the way up at 4 because they're red hot. So because they beat the preseason number 13 South Carolina, nobody's hotter than the Crimson Tide.
What about Indiana beating the 1953 national champion Maryland Terrapins?
Yeah, and 7-time ACC champs.
Yeah.
We were walking on the field after the game and saw the plaques and we're like, "Yep, that's it."
Yeah.
But no,
you might want to mention that the Alabama thing is a tweet that somebody made.
Oh yes, that was a tweet that was put out
by SEC numbers guy.
Certainly chooses numbers. Yeah.
Anyways, back to your point.
Yeah. What was my point? Oh yes, the hot over cold teams, and this is going to change a lot because there's still plenty of time left in the season. BYU and Texas Tech, the 7 and 8, will play this weekend. Oregon, Iowa. We don't know what's going to happen with the ACC. Virginia is right now at the 11, and then who knows? Bama goes into LSU. That's a tough atmosphere, and maybe they're thrilled that Brian Kelly's no longer there anymore. And
This seems to be the opinion down there.
that could get interesting. I don't know. And final week of the year, rivalry week always changes things up. So there's no reason to overreact to this right now, because this is not at all what it's going to look like come the last bracket. But the trends of how the committee thinks it's something to consider as the weeks go on.
And very quickly, I will just gloss over the actual bracket here. Obviously, Ohio State is the 1. Indiana's the 2, excuse me. Other notable teams is Oregon is the 9 seed, Notre Dame the 10 seed, which, we just heard Nick's opinion on that. But like we just said, they're on the rise.
Well, I read this I liked it a lot, article from Nicole, I think it's Auerbach.
Yeah.
From NBC. And yeah, shout out NBC. And it was almost I don't know if I want to say the word criticizing, but it was putting kind of an eye onto the committee, because last night,
Was she being critical of the committee?
a little bit, but in the sense of I couldn't watch the show last night because YouTube TV.
Shout out
and
YouTube
ESPN.
TV.
Don't
ESPN,
blame your
man.
consumers for your TV mishaps.
Please.
ESPN is definitely holding a gun to all of their on-air talents' heads and saying, post about keepmynetworks.com or else.
Please
Because
figure it out so I can watch CFP ranking.
it is not the consumer's fault.
So, okay, so I couldn't watch it last night. So what I was getting was what people were saying through Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, whatever. The vibe that I got was that maybe the commentary about a lot of their decisions was not the greatest. And pretty much she wrote an article saying it's not, last night it almost seemed like they were just going off of vibes for their ranking, and that's not enough. And she says that she was talking about how they need to actually come out and say how they use the metrics and that type of stuff, which obviously I don't think they'll ever do, but I think it's a good read and that people should read it, because I think she's pretty spot on with how a lot of people feel about the committee and how they choose things.
Hear me out. What if they record the meetings of the committee
That would be too
and
easy.
then just put them out to the people?
Well, that's too easy.
Oh, does that make too much sense? My bad. I forgot we
That's
can't
too
do that.
easy.
My
But
bad, you're
I
right.
agree. It would be nice to kind of get from them, instead of just well, on the eye test, this team looks good and we like their vibe. No, I'd like to see, it would be nice to see more analytical why things are the way that they are.
That is a
The
risk you
committee is
take
full of
because
that boy nice watchers.
it's a risk you take because you look at, I know he's not on the committee, but he's on the show. When you trust people with analytics, and then you get Joey Galloway saying that Texas A&M has the best win in the country against Notre Dame, who they have ranked at 10. I believe that was at Kyle Field.
No,
No,
it was in South Bend.
It was in
Either
South
way,
Bend.
you can't call that the best win in the country if you have a team ranked higher in Oregon that Indiana beat on the road. So
And
there's
you
that.
don't have to explain everyone. Explaining every single team, all 25 teams, is a lot. But have the chairman come out and at least explain the top 12.
They had the chairman talk. They had the chair is the Baylor AD, which why is a sitting athletic director the chair?
That's how it's been.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
but
last year was Michigan, right?
It was Ward Manuel, yeah. But I don't think that sitting ADs realistically have enough time to be part of that group that watches the tape. I
agree.
I just think that regardless of what the committee does, it did seem like I was actually able to watch it, and then at 8:40 the ESPN app crashed.
Nice.
So that was great. But it seemed like they were, and Zach Osterman pointed this out too, it seemed like they were trying to make a very strong case for subjective evaluation. And I think Joey Galloway was going to bat for Texas A&M because he kept saying, oh, the analytics say that A&M is better than Ohio State and Indiana. What analytics? He didn't cite anything
Boy Nice
specifically.
Watcher, I don't know.
He did not cite anything. He just said the analytics, which, okay, if we go to the FPI, Ohio State and Indiana are 1 and 2. Texas A&M is down at 9. If we go to strength of record, A&M is 1, Indiana is 2. If we go to strength of schedule, A&M does have a better strength of schedule, but I would counter that by saying that is largely bolstered by preseason bias that favors the SEC, even though the SEC is clearly not as good as it used to be. Indiana is first in the nation in overall efficiency. Ohio State is second. Texas A&M is 10th. You can go on. But if he's not going to say what specific analytics favor Texas A&M over Indiana and Ohio State, then I don't think there's any validity to his argument. Bill Connolly's S&P Plus, which is a predictive analytic that slowly phases out preseason numbers as the year goes on. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, A&M 5. The general consensus seems to be that Ohio State and Indiana are the 2 best teams in the country. And Galloway saying, "Oh, the analytics say otherwise." I think it's a very flawed argument, and I think it would help on both sides if the committee was just more transparent. But also, if you looked at the people who were taking their hats off and walking into the room, I don't think any of those people actually know what analytics are. They're all old.
Well,
They're all boomers. I mean, how much analytics do they actually understand? And can they apply it? And I don't think that they can.
And I feel like you made a really good point earlier. Like, there are a lot of standing athletic directors on that committee. They also, I just don't think they have the time in the world to be sitting down every weekend and watching full slates of college football. And so then
Nobody can.
Yeah. And so then it's just, but I just think that group in particular, of everybody really does it. And so it's just I understand that's how it is and that's how it's going to be. And something like this, you're never going to make everybody happy no matter what you do. And that's fine. But it's just interesting stuff to me. I don't know.
It's kind of like being a politician or being a baseball umpire. No matter what you do, you're going to alienate about half of your audience.
Yeah.
I think people are always going to be upset. And I think eventually, whether you're an Ohio State fan, an Indiana fan, a Texas A&M fan, BYU, if you feel like BYU got disrespected being undefeated and being a 7th seed, okay, winning takes care of everybody's problems. Winning will solve everything. If you just keep winning, eventually you're going to get your flowers. And ultimately, that's the case for all 4 undefeateds. And that's why I'm so excited for the Big Ten Championship, because that will likely decide the number 1 overall seed and maybe even the Heisman.
I think it'll decide the Heisman.
It's going to be fun.
The committee chair, for one thing, said that A&M, they put it 3rd because of defensively, they felt A&M was behind Indiana and Ohio State. And then Indiana was put at 2 because the offensive line and the defense was not as good as Ohio State, which is fair.
Yeah. That is fair.
They're also it's back to the defending national champions thing. How do you dethrone them?
You don't.
Let's
you
look
beat them in the
at
Big Ten
and
Championship.
I'm not I'm fine with Indiana being at 2. That's not the issue.
let's look at defensive efficiency.
I'd like some. I don't
Somebody's going to get analytical.
If the committee chair was right, because Indiana 92.4 defensive efficiency out of 100. 2nd in the country behind only Texas Tech. Ohio State is 3rd at 92. Texas A&M, 76.5, which ranks 18th in the country. For context, Maryland's defensive efficiency is 19th. So A&M
It also causes a lot of turnovers.
A&M is clearly not at the same level on defense, just efficiency-wise, as Indiana and Ohio State. Oregon and Iowa are also up there in the top 5. So I think he's right. So credit to him for that. But I think, if they want to be fully transparent, that'd be great. Tape record the conversations that they're having. Put them on YouTube or whatever.
Apparently that makes too much sense.
Why don't they live broadcast it?
Yeah, just have a conversation and let the fans in on what you're talking about in those meetings. I think that would be better for everybody, but that requires a perfect world, and I don't think that we're going to get that.
No.
Right.
Can we talk Big Ten championship game and tiebreakers, because it's interesting.
It's a mess.
They're a mess. Yeah.
Awful.
But what do you want? You got it.
Well,
if you want to.
If Indiana wins out, it's in.
Yeah.
But if Indiana picks up a loss, then it gets interesting, because you'll have, assuming there are teams that could win out in Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, if they lose to Michigan, there was like a whole group of one-loss Big Ten teams
I think
that
it's roughly 4.
Indiana would have the tiebreaker with the head-to-head over Oregon and Iowa. But that's it.
But it doesn't matter because one of them's going to beat the other one anyways.
True. But it gets interesting if Indiana is to lose. But
Okay,
again, we
here.
don't live in the South, so ifs don't matter.
Well, here I got it pulled up. So Indiana's obviously 6-0 atop, but they have a bye week here coming soon. Ohio State 5-0. They will play the 5-1 Michigan Wolverines the last week of the season. Oregon 4-1, along with Iowa and USC. So obviously, one of Oregon and Iowa will lose. One of Michigan and Ohio State will lose. The interesting thing is if Ohio State loses, if Indiana drops a game, so then you'd have 1, 2, 3 one-loss teams, 4 one-loss teams, and USC plays. I want to say plays one of these top teams here soon.
Yeah, you gotta.
USC plays Oregon and Iowa, so
That's gonna be
the schedule is going to shake out. So
Yeah.
basically, your realistic options of having one loss is Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah, those 3.
USC already has 2, right?
They have 1.
They have 1.
They're 4.
It was just to Illinois.
Yep.
Okay.
4-1.
This is the problem when you have an 18-team mega conference with no divisions.
They do have 2 losses, but they're 4-1 in conference. So
Yeah. I am not advocating for the Big Ten West to come back, but this is what happens when you get rid of divisions. It becomes a total mess.
It's a cluster.
And we also should not have an 18-team conference. There's way too much bloat in the middle in every sport. Which
There's also way too much money in it.
Yeah, there's a ton of money, and that's why they did it. And I get why money rules everything. But this is one of the negative consequences of that, is that you get all this messy bleh in the middle. And again, if you're Indiana, just keep winning.
Sounded like the guy in D.C. right there.
If you're Ohio State, just keep winning, you know?
Well, and
That
I
is
think,
the easy way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier said than done, but that's my groundbreaking analysis there.
I think too, if you're looking at Fernando Mendoza and the Heisman campaign, that you really want to play in this Big Ten championship game for that.
I don't
And
think
so-
he cares about that.
He doesn't.
There's no
I
way
don't think
Fernando
he
cares
cared.
about it.
Yeah, probably not. But I'm saying, like, in terms of like, if you want your quarterback to have have a shot at it, this Big Ten championship game matters in that term too.
Also,
There's-
because Indiana won the Big Ten in 1945, I think, but that's it.
Sounds
right.
about right.
Yeah.
What a year. Cubs
Yeah.
go to the World Series, Indiana in the Big Ten championship game.
And all it took was a world war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Where a lot of
the way to
athletes
put
were
it.
not participating in sports because they were in the military.
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Anyways, if Indiana is to lose in the Big Ten championship game, the question, it goes for Ohio State as well if they lose in the Big Ten championship game, assuming those are the 2 in. Does Indiana drop to 5 out of the top 4, host the group of 5 team? And if that happens, I wouldn't mind it personally. I think that would be great.
The only way Indiana drops out of the top 4, assuming it's 12-0 Indiana versus 12-0 Ohio State, is if Ohio State wins by like 35.
Mm-hmm.
Is it if
Yeah, it might
it's
be more
like
than that.
what happened at the shoe last year,
Happens again.
Yeah.
where Indiana's just not close, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think
But-
these teams are so even.
I asked that question more to ask, like, would Indiana hosting the 5-12 game to play 4, would that be a good option for a path? Because, I mean, the 4 is likely going to be the SEC championship game loser, I would think. So Bama or an A&M.
I don't know if there's particularly really a good path in the college football playoff.
There's a compelling-
there's
The one
bad
Indiana has
and
right
there's
now.
worse.
There's a compelling
you
argument.
fight the Juggernaut or you fight the Terminator.
The
Who would you rather fight?
the path Indiana has right now is not bad at all.
It's not bad, but it's still.
I'm with
It's
Ian
not
on this
easy
one.
games.
There's a compelling argument, but I would counter by saying Indiana has dealt with too many injuries already. And I think you need that bye. I know that teams coming off a bye in the CFP last year struggled.
All literally lost.
They all lost, yeah.
got smoked even.
But that was last year.
Right.
And I think Indiana just banged up. Everybody's banged up at this point in the season. And Indiana's bye week being so close to the end of the season, and let's be honest, Indiana's last 3 opponents have not won a Big Ten game this year. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to rest your first team guys. And I think that having the bye going into the CFP would be another opportunity to make sure they're at 100%. We don't know how long Drew Evans is going to be out. Key piece at left guard. Zen Michalski did a great job filling in. But if you can get everybody back to or close to 100%, I think that's going to play a bigger advantage than hosting a playoff game and having to win that game just to get to the same spot that you would be in if you got a bye.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially with the aforementioned injuries. So obviously Drew Evans, he will be out this week as well with Penn State. Aiden Fisher's still questionable. He sat the entire Maryland game. He did warm up. He was fully dressed. And obviously Elijah Surratt sat after 9 snaps and had to tweak his hamstring or something like that, they said. So, again, another questionable guy.
Yeah, on the broadcast, they were saying that his hamstring was just tight.
Yeah.
It was a precautionary
He
thing.
has
I
been
don't blame
dealing
them
with
for
it for
pulling
2
him out.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
Well, he said there was
you
another
go.
issue against UCLA. Signetti said that, and then the hamstring started nagging him, so they said, okay, you're gone.
It shows in the production numbers. I mean,
Yeah, it's been
they
slowed
don't.
down.
It's
But
apparent
still.
they don't need him, evidently. So let him rest and
Right.
use him when you need him.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the injury report ends up looking like this week against Penn State, which is the next game for Indiana. The 3-5 Nittany Lions, 0-5 in conference, as Nick just said, but they're also 0-2 with their interim head coach, Terry Smith. If you're unaware, James Franklin was fired after Week 7, which in that same week, their starting quarterback, Drew Aller, first-round potential pick, went down with a season-ending injury after breaking his ankle. The backup and replacement, Ethan Grunkmeyer, he is currently 42 of 67 on the year, 343 yards in the air, 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. He's played in 5 games. He threw 9 passes in Week 1 and then threw 1 pass in the next 2 games he appeared in combined. The last 2 games he started, though, much different story. He's been 15 of 28, 19 of 28, with no touchdowns in either and 3 interceptions in those games combined.
He's also taken 5 sacks,
Right.
which is interesting.
Not a great appearance for the replacement quarterback, but this offense runs through the running backs. It's a pro-style offense because they have this running back by committee. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, who account for 43% of the offense's total yards. Allen is, I would say, clearly the more explosive of the two. He has a much higher usage rate, has, I think, 800 total yards on the year. Nick Singleton's got 300 or 400 combined between rushing and receiving. The defense, I had a tough time trying to figure out what their base defense was. It looks like a 4-3, but it can switch to a 4-2-5. They've got a rover similar to Indiana. 32, Keon Wiley. He very athletic linebacker who almost looks like a safety, but he's in the box constantly. They send him off the edge, and he'll also drop into coverage pretty constantly, which leads me to my next point, that their defense is a mix of zone and man. The first time Indiana's really seen that all year. It's been a lot of teams that are pretty hard stuck on either running zone or running man or running zone until they get inside the 20, like Maryland last week, which didn't really present any problems with their passing game because they just ran the ball, which won't be a problem against Penn State because they've been getting gashed. Really, the last 2 weeks, it looks like their D-line has let some holes that you could drive my pickup truck through. But there is the counterpoint that they get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They send plenty of blitzes. So it'll be another fun week for Mr. Mendoza back there in the pocket.
And a test for the offensive line, too.
Correct, especially without Drew Evans.
Yeah, in another big environment. Now, obviously, excuse me, Beaver Stadium's not going to be rocking the way it usually is.
Not the way you'd expect it to rock.
100,000 people are still loud.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't care how you slice it. That's a lot of people. And if Penn State makes a big early play, Fernando Mendoza threw a pick early against Maryland. And I don't know, Indiana turns it over. Penn State could make something happen, especially when you're playing with nothing to lose. But I almost feel bad just for how much Penn State's season has been derailed. Especially because Drew Aller could have gone to the draft last year and would have been picked in the first round. I don't know if he deserved to be, but he would have been picked. And now he's got a broken ankle and his head coach is gone and they're 0-5 in Big Ten play.
And the program is falling apart as you speak.
Yeah, and they just spent $700 million to renovate Beaver Stadium.
Not to mention one of their 4 stars just flipped his commitment to Indiana.
Yeah, so...
Which one?
I forget his name. I don't remember.
Was it the
Hold
running back?
on, I
Messiah?
got you.
This
something?
happened like 3 or 4. It was
I got
an
you.
interesting name.
It was, it was Messiah.
He did not commit. That was just
he took a visit or something.
An interest graphic.
Yeah.
He's officially visiting this week or Wisconsin weekend. That was not a commitment post.
Well, that'll be a good recruiting
LeVar
weekend
Keys
for Indiana.
though. LeVar Keys was visiting Indiana for the UCLA game, and then went to Maryland.
So
and
he went to
visited
the Maryland game, didn't he?
For the Indiana-Maryland game, and he saw Indiana outscore those two opponents by a combined score of 111-16. So,
And he was on Twitter talking about how good popcorn is.
and Buffalo's.
He did. I did see the
Ooh.
Buffalo's tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, crystal ball.
At
Hey,
any
guys, it's
rate,
me,
Ball.
Joe Tipton.
I think about this Penn State team, and everybody knows how I felt about Penn
This
State
is the
this year.
Plaskoff Bowl, the Callan Grable Bowl. It's a lot of
Well,
Super Bowls
it's not the
this week.
same anymore. It doesn't have the same ring.
It's still your Super
But
Bowl.
everything that I said earlier this year was true, and that's past. And this is a new team. I think about this team, and it reminds me a lot of Maryland in a way, where you have a young quarterback, you have problems at the coaching position. The quarterback is, this quarterback in Grunkmeyer, no offense to him, but he is not as good as Malik Washington, and he's much less experienced than Malik Washington. And you saw what this defense did to Malik Washington last week. So good luck.
Good luck.
That was crazy.
Well, it's true.
Best regards, Ian Plaskoff.
It's true. The run game is better than Maryland's. Maryland runs 100 yards a game. It's last in the Big Ten. They couldn't run against Indiana. But Allen and Singleton are not the same as they were last year. Yes, they have the name power, but they're not as explosive. They're not as productive as they were
because
last
you know
year.
where the ball's going.
Exactly.
Not
It's
that
a
they're
very
not as
predictable,
explosive.
very predictable offense, especially with a quarterback that has 1 touchdown, 3 picks, and 343 yards on this season. Again, he's thrown into a tough spot. He's not experienced. I'm sure he will be talented, but he has some room to go right now. Room to grow, I should say.
Yeah, either one works.
Defensively, they'll send pressure. They'll be aggressive, but they do allow rushing yards, and that's also very similar to Maryland, who's extremely aggressive, trying to force turnovers, and obviously gave up nearly 400 rushing yards this past week. So there are a lot of similarities here. Two programs that are kind of struggling from the top down, dealing with some things, and I don't think Kurt Cignetti will let up.
And
at
what I
all.
will say about Penn State's offense, as stagnant as it is, the reason they were scoring against Ohio State was the fact that they actually mixed it up. They were bringing guys around the edge. It was end arounds with, shockingly, Katron Allen or Nick Singleton. But still, you knew where the ball was going, but it was how was it getting there, which threw Ohio State off enough to let up the 2 touchdowns. Granted, they
One
were
of those
given
was
the
on
ball.
a really short field.
They were given the ball in the red zone once, but
Yeah.
still, they did have, I want to say, a 75-yard drive to start the game.
Penn State? Well, their first drive was a 3-and-out.
Right. What's the next drive?
Or it was not a 3-and-out, sorry, but they punted after a
did,
26-yard gain. Their touchdown drive came at the start of the second quarter, or in the middle of the second quarter, 15 plays, 75 yards, 8 minutes off the clock.
Nailed it.
So after that drive, they went punt, that touchdown on a short field, second half.
It was terrible in the second half
Punt, interception.
because the offense got stale.
Yeah.
They went back to their old reliables of just hand the ball off,
Yeah.
throw a slant, and it got locked down by one of the best defenses in the country, which
Yeah.
is not surprising.
What does Penn State's offense look like against Indiana after the first scripted drive?
They're gonna have to go back to the trick play thing, and if they stop getting frisky with plays, then it's just gonna be BTA.
We have seen this happen before with
UCLA
tried
teams
it.
trying
We
to
did.
catch Indiana off guard. It does not tend to go well.
No.
Because they are
This-
so well coached and so disciplined that they're prepared for any sort of trickery. And
Are they also smart and poised?
On the UCLA, nice. On the UCLA trick play, that fake punt, Indiana was coached so well that Jonathan Brady, the punt returner, ran up as the play was developing for UCLA on the fake punt and became a DB.
Known safety, Jonathan Brady.
And it felt like that was the planned coverage. That's how disciplined and prepared this team is. So if you're trying to run trick plays, especially, this is another situation like it was with Maryland last week where I don't see how Bryant Haynes will not throw these crazy schemes up front at Ethan Grunkmeyer because he hasn't seen them before at the college level. And he hasn't seen he just played Ohio State. Never mind. But it's going to happen.
backtrack.
It's going to happen. Indiana's going to run some stuff up front that's going to try and confuse Grunkmeyer and put him under duress. And yeah, I think Indiana's defense will be pretty dominant, at least after the first drive.
I will say the one advantage that Penn State might have, is Jim Knowles. at defensive coordinator because Knowles was at Ohio State last year, and Ohio State, after that first drive, clamped down on Indiana's offense. Different environment, different situation, different players on the field. But he was the only guy in the regular season who could effectively game plan against Indiana on defense, except for maybe Michigan.
Yeah.
But Michigan again.
Notre Dame.
And regular season.
Okay.
That's really the only advantage that I can see
And I
for
have
Indiana. For Penn State.
two kind of counterpoints to that. One is that the players at Ohio State on defense were significantly better than the players on this Penn State defense, which, I mean, scheme is scheme. It's whatever. But sometimes you just need players like Ohio State had last year. The other thing is that Curt Cignetti has film to watch from his team playing against Jim Knowles last season. And when Curt Cignetti has film to watch,
It will be watched.
it will be watched to the fullest extent, and it tends to go well when he watches film.
In his recliner.
In
Let's
his
go.
blue
In the black,
recliner.
is it black or blue?
Blue.
The blue recliner.
Turquoise.
I might be colorblind.
Aquamarine.
That's apparently I've just learned I'm colorblind on the show. It's shockwave.
What
Anyways,
color did you think it was?
I don't know. For some reason I thought it was
Oh.
black.
No, it's like
No.
it's
Black
like
and
a-
gold or black and blue versus white and gold. It's
Oh,
the dress thing all over
Oh,
again.
brother.
The dress
Anyways,
was black and blue.
Back to Penn State, actually. The other thing to note is Ohio State's offense had a field day against them. The problem was they just didn't get the ball in the first half. They got it for, there was the 2 drives that they had, and then they got the ball very quickly at the end of the second quarter and ended up getting the field goal was in the beginning of the second quarter.
You think this is kind of like a Michigan State game plan where Penn State just tries to dominate time of possession?
That's
and
what
hold the ball for as
they
long
did
as
against
possible?
Ohio State, and it worked for
In
the
the
first
first half.
And
Yeah.
then Ohio State got the ball. They started the second half with the ball and then immediately took the top off the defense, which they did at the end of the second half, or the end of the first half against Penn State.
Yeah, I see this
Now
as
my brain's
a
coming
slow
together.
developing first half, and then the second half just typical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there comes 30 extra points. That are
There's a
probably gonna be
pattern
unanswered.
here. A pattern.
Some are saying.
A little bit.
So that's the breakdown of Penn State, which leads us to everyone's favorite part of the show. Or
Oh,
at
I
least-
see an error.
yeah, I know.
What?
I forgot the rules. Someone's supposed to have extra points. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
All right, everything's fixed. Oh, not.
Oh,
Why is he so
No.
nice?
I'll take
Are you
111.
stat padding Ian?
No.
Ian's editing the
Rigging the
rundown. so to
system,
speak.
man.
The record prediction update. In first place, still unchanged, is Ava Wegenke. She has 12 points. And in second place, standalone second place for the first time in a while, Ian Plaskoff. He's got 11 points.
Ethical 11.
Ethical 11.
9 correct answers and 1 3-pointer.
Ethical 11. And in third place, it's myself with 9 points. And in last place, Nick's got 6. He gained a point. Hey, so me and Nick got a point.
Hey,
It's better than
slow,
0.
slow and steady, man.
I'm like Indiana. I'm the only 9-0 team.
That's true.
Dude, this is true.
That is true. He's not lying. I guess. I mean, I don't know if we call him Indiana yet, but well, because you're in second and you're 9-0.
Yep.
He might be Indiana. He might be the embodiment.
physical, relentless, smart, disciplined, poised, first play to last play. 11 guys doing their job is not addition, it's multiplication. There's more, but I'll
3 phrases.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's too many one-liners from Cignetti to name. But yes, I'm second ranked 9-0 Ian Plaskoff.
And the embodiment of the Indiana Hoosiers. Known lifelong Indiana Hoosier. There you go. Good job, Elijah. All right, so we'll get to the actual score predictions. Since Plaskoff is solely in second place, I'm going to make him go first.
All right. I think this will be very similar to what happened against Ohio State last week. I don't think Penn State will have that field position benefit for that other score, but I do think they'll tack on a field goal or two. Indiana will not see the ball much in the first half, but I think it will score on probably maybe all but one possession that it has. I don't know how many that will be, but I see this being similar to Ohio State, and I will go 42-13, where Penn State scores a touchdown and 2 field goals. 42-13.
Davey looked deep in thought.
That's literally what I was going to say. Let me change it real quick. Honestly, I give Penn State 2 touchdowns and a 3-pointer. Okay. And okay, well, that was not the right terminology. I understand.
For 3.
DeVries for 3.
Bang! Bang! All right.
Okay. I give Penn State 17 points. I had to do the math real quick because math is really difficult. I just knew how many touchdowns.
Nobody made you admit that. You could have took that to the grave.
Doing wonders for the
I
IU
knew-
education resume.
I
here.
knew how much I knew how many touchdowns I wanted them to have in my head, but the math was not coming to me, so I had to calculate that real
What's
quick
14 plus 3, guys?
create-
Oh, my goodness.
and create a distraction. Okay. And then for IU, I have to do math again. I know how many touchdowns I want them to score, but I have to do the math again. Excuse me, everybody. We're going to go 5 touchdowns.
Can you believe this?
35 points.
I've
Okay.
already made my prediction.
Can you believe this? We can't do addition? And
No.
What year are
Because
we
we don't know
17.
How many
addition.
years have you been in
All
school?
we know is multiplication. We don't do
Hey,
addition here
okay,
in Indiana.
hey, hey, hey.
2025.
There's a very real reason that I went into sports and broadcasting.
How many
instead
years
of
have you been in
anything
school,
else.
man?
Oh, my whole life.
And
Be
you
about
can't add
16
roughly?
at least.
I mean, my freshman year, I dropped out of intro to college math. And
You're
had to
not
retake
not
it
doing
later
yourself
on.
any favors here.
Nobody's
Because it was
making you tell
hard.
us
It was
this.
hard. No, I'm very open about this. I'm
Take
not
the
very
shovel
good at
out of
math.
your hand and stop digging your own grave, please.
This is like not embarrassing for me. This is real talk.
That's part of the problem.
Anyways, 1735. I'll take Indiana.
All right, Nick, can you do your own math?
Yeah, so I think
Good job,
Indiana,
kid.
Indiana
Cathedral
scores a
education.
lot and Penn State scores a little. Give me Indiana 45-10.
What'd you say? Did you say
42 to 13.
All right, I'm gonna
so
go-
He moved my Penn State field goal to an Indiana field goal.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go 38-9. No, I'm gonna go 38-6. I think I did this last week too.
Last week you said something to 10, and then you changed it
And
to
then
6,
I know.
and it was 10. So
I
it's going to
know.
be 9 now.
6 as in
It
like,
probably will.
38 to
They're
6.
2 field
So
goals.
I'm going
2 field
38 to
goals,
6.
a missed PAT, or 3 safeties.
You just
There's
love doing the
always the
math
option
on
of
my
3
side.
I like
Yeah.
safeties. We haven't had a safety in an IU game this year. That's like the only thing we haven't seen.
Thank you, Ref Plaskoff.
Yep.
I think we're due for one.
Boys
You might
are
be due for
due.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to Nick. Anyways, there's a record prediction in the updates, and we actually got through the scores quick enough, apart from Ava not knowing how to do math, which isn't concerning at all.
I'll work on it.
Thank you for joining us this week on Pack the Rock Podcast, and notably not your math class. I'm William Stewart. Next to me, Ian Plaskoff. Across from us, Ava Wegenke, who needs to go to math class, and Nick Rodecap.
Who does not need to go to math class?
Cathedral
Notably.
education.
Shout
Yeah.
out the boys, man.
Go Irish.
Shout out Sycamore High School, by the way. I learned math in addition
Shout
there,
out Spurbuff Jesuit Preparatory School.
where we
Quinn
learned addition.
Warren.
I don't know what they're teaching in Michigan. Thank you for joining us this week on the Hoosier Network. Make sure to follow along with us for all your Indiana football needs and updates. Make sure to follow along with the Hoosier Network for all your Indiana athletics updates and needs. We will see you all next week.